And yeah, like Reggie said, off the top of your head, any birthday wishes?
Not so much. No, I'm really thrown now. I don't know what to say.
A few people would have been alarmed to see that Tex might be coming back as late as round 15.
No, it's round 20 now.
Tex has said round 20.
Round 20. Is there any chance it could be before that, or is it a big time frame and just really got to make sure he's ready? Tex is on target for an early season return, and it's very difficult for us to pinpoint an exact round. And I know there's a huge interest in this story, and rightly so, because he's one of our most important players. But Tex will play when he's ready, and that's got to be a conversation that we have with Tex and his surgeon, our club doctor, and Duncan Kellaway, who's done his rehab the whole way through. So, but there's been no setbacks. Tex is absolutely flying. I'm sure you've got some vision today to show the fans tonight that the Tex is certainly targeting an early season comeback.
What's your approach? Is it?
Oh, he's in front of where he probably should be. It's a 12-month injury. So, and as I've said in the media, I guess over the last probably 6 to 12 months, that it was a serious knee injury, and we're not going to take any risks. And I think we're going to probably either way, if when he comes back, there'll be people who probably think he's coming back too early, and those who probably think we've been quite conservative. But we'll make a smart decision, and Tex will return when he's fit and ready to go.
Did you feel that agenda's got you caught up at times, because you were saying start of the season, then he would make the decision? Clearly, it's not just going to be him, and now it's going out to round 15 and all that, and round 20. So
yeah, no, I think when
difficult for you to handle that whole
process? When we first returned from pre-season, so Tex obviously trained right through that off-season break. He spent some time in America with Bill Knowles, who's the rehab specialist, and when we returned to start pre-season, Tex looked amazing. I mean, we were really happy with the progression that he made in that off-season time, and I was very bullish that he could return as soon as round 1. But I guess the reality is Tex will return, and his target is early in the season. So I'd love to give you a round, I'd love to give you a date, but the reality is Tex will return when he's ready, and it looks like that'll be at some point early in the season.
I had an interesting discussion with Robbie Gray, who's gone through that knee injury, took 12 months, and he's felt that you then need another 12 months before you even know what footy's about again. Is it going to be the same with Walker, that you're going to have to sort of be very careful with him even when he comes back for a year? Yeah, I think our fans and the coaches group and the players will have our fingers crossed that it's a quick return. But as with every case, you have to. I mean, everybody's different, and this is a unique injury, and hopefully we get him back as quickly as we can.
Sean McKernan, who looks to maybe fill that spot while Tex comes back, can this be his year? It looks like things are lining up that it may be. Do you think it could be his year to step in?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, Sean's had a really good summer, and his match the other night, and when we played against Port in the first NAB Cup game, he's been really good. So it looks like we've got a bit of depth through that key forward role. And when we lost Tippo at the end of 2012, and then Tex went down at the start of 13, a few of those guys got exposed to early matches in the season. And I think those guys have learned a lot over the summer, and their experiences last year, and getting Pods into the club's been great. He's another almost coach for those young key forwards too. So I really do like the depth that we've got in that position now, particularly when we do get Tex back.
How is Pods going? We saw him come off an ice hit today. Is he all right?
Yeah, he's fine. He probably shouldn't have even trained today really, but he only played a quarter and a bit on the weekend, on Monday night. But he hasn't missed a beat all summer, and he'll certainly be in the frame for round 1.
So just managing a bit of a hip problem?
Yeah, classic hip pointer. So the one where you get a whack on the hip, it bruises up, seizes up pretty quickly. So that lacked a little bit of mobility for him, but he'll be fine. He'll play against GWS tomorrow week, and then fingers crossed we get our best squad available for round 1 against Geelong.
Brenton, is it almost is it almost a real battle between Jenkins and McKernan? Are they almost neck and neck, really toughing it out for that spot in round 1?
It depends how we structure up in round 1. Whether we a lot last year we just went with 1 tall. Different times we went with 3 tall. So we'll just keep having a look at how we structure up against the Cats in round 1. They've obviously got a great defence with Lonergan, Rivers, and Harry Taylor. So whether we go 3 talls, 1 tall, 2 talls, that's something up for debate through match committee over the next few weeks.
Barring those injuries to VB and Ricky Henderson, is the pre-season going to plan for you? Obviously you talked about winning a lot and you've done that. Is it going to plan so far? Yeah, it is. I mean, we felt like we've hit the ground running through the match simulation drills and also to the 2 NAB Cup games we've played. There's been some good signs in that. So, I mean, as a coach, you're always looking for a perfect summer. We feel like it hasn't been perfect, but at the same time, we've probably got out of it what we were hoping to achieve.
Talking about the forward line, what about getting the ball in there? How have you seen the ball movement from inside in the last couple of games?
Yeah, it's changed a bit. When you have a look at probably how we played over the last 2 years compared to the 2 NAB Cup games you've had a look at, we're probably moving the ball a bit differently, probably using a bit more handball. But that's just, I guess, a bit of a teaser for what to expect for us early in the season. I'm not saying exactly that's how we're going to play, but I think you'll see some slightly different adjustments to how we move the footy.
It's just going to take a little while to get used to that.
Oh, definitely too. Yeah, we've got some young players who are pushing for selection early in the year. Who, you know, some players who just come in, they are handballers. You know, whether that's Matt Crouch or Cam Ellis-Yeoman, they handball more than they kick, and other guys that we select, say like a Lewis Johnson's more of a kicker. So sometimes it depends on what we go with selection, but I think you'll see some little tweaks to how we play early in the season.
Talk about the way you play. What are you feeling on the way you're clearing the ball out of defence, the transitional stuff?
Still some work to do. Yeah, still some work to do. I thought Carlton did a pretty good job, particularly in the first 3 quarters, of holding us up at times, and they prevented us from moving the ball cleanly out of there. But it's one thing that we've reviewed this week, and we've worked a bit at training so far.
Is there a key player for that role? You know how you've lost Anderson, but is it purely Brodie Smith, or do you want to rethink that one again?
We've got some other options. We can play some midfielders across half-back. You know, Andy Otten played forward for us last week, but it's obviously played most of his footy for us across half-back. So, and we should get Brent Riley back pretty early in the season too. So, a little bit depends on the clientele, but yeah, it's one area with modern defence, so you have to look for ways to generate just a little bit of different ball use when you come out of defence.
Speaking of clientele, without Van Berlo, who becomes your defensive midfielder?
It's a good question. There's probably a couple of guys that can play that role. We don't have to play with a midfield tag either, but that's, I mean, with 21 days now till we play Geelong, that's an area that we'll have to discuss as a match committee how we use that role and who we run with if we decide to run with someone.
Is there a natural one there?
There's a few options. Yeah, there's definitely a few guys who have done that for us in the past, and a few young players that we might give that role to as well.
Do you want to nominate who you think they should go?
No.
And in terms of that line that you don't have to have a midfield tag, why do you have that thought when others actually prime players for it to be a tag?
Sometimes it can upset your structure. So when you look at with our midfield, say for example, if you played Dangerfield, Sloan and Thompson through our midfield, if you're going to run with someone, one of those 3 gets spat out, gets squeezed out. So sometimes that can affect your structure a bit too. You know, some sides run with no tag, some go with 1, and others go with 3 or 4. So it depends a little bit about what you're trying to achieve from stoppage situations and what you want your centre bounce to look like. Other sides tag from outside the square. So that's all the strategies that we're trying to work through and just work out what works best for us. I mean, Nathan was great. He's had a great 4 or 5 years of doing that really well for us. But we don't always have to replace Nathan with another Van Berlo. We can always look for different ways to do it.
Are you saying that you'd rather back your guys being all attacking midfielder rather than worry about?
Not so much back him in to be all attacking, more so play with that even balance of attack and defence. I think some teams we can do that against, and other clubs there's just a few guys. For example, when you play North Melbourne, you know, Wells or Harvey, or do you run with both? You know, so we'll go through every team individually and look what suits us, but also to how we're going to play our best footy. And the modern midfield now have to play with that attack and defence mentality too. So you can't be just all out attack.
Ellis-Yeoman and Matt Crouch forward, their natural instinct to handle, does that give them an advantage in terms of trying to make a debut this year? Oh,
very much so, yeah. I mean, we do look for a variety of guys. You know, when you look at our midfield across the board, we have got some guys that play quite similar, but it's nice to mix it up a little bit and have some talls and smalls and some quick guys and some physically strong guys. And I guess ideally you're looking for a good blend through your midfield.
Crows fan but not a member? You can join the club from just $25 for a junior member and $50 for an adult. Find out more at 19thman.com.au.